What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined by my dad, Sean, and today, reactions to the classics. We are going to be doing our top 10 albums of 2015 draft. Looking forward to this one, man. The 2010 decade is cruising along right here, and it's been pretty strong, I'd say. And this year got some epics, to say the least.
Yeah, I thought this decade's been outstanding. One of the best ones so far, and I wouldn't have thought I'd be saying this. Guys, if you don't know how this works, Trey's going to get first pick. I got 2, 3. He gets 4, 5. This time, first pick's important because the first pick, yeah, it's absolutely iconic. We need your help, though. Let us know who you think won. Leave it in the comments below. If you want to leave your top 5 or top 10 albums, feel free to do that as well. Also, if you're a patron, remember you get to vote on one of these albums for a live listening party that we do once a month right here on YouTube. If you're not a patron, we appreciate any support you consider giving us. Check out the Patreon link below or the patron link on the end screen. So Trey, I guess without further ado, man, I mean, this obviously would have been my number 1 pick, but you had first pick. So what do you got?
Dude, yeah, I'm going with Kendrick Lamar's masterpiece right here, To Pimp a Butterfly, his 3rd record. Went to 1 on both sides of the pond. Just one of the more acclaimed records of the decade of all time. 96 on Metacritic, was 19th on Rolling Stone's most recent top albums of all time list. And man, I got some sentimental value with this as well, because I remember I was going to bed the night before it released, and then it had kind of leaked on out a little bit early. I remember Kendrick did a tweet of something like, "Hey, all is well," and then boom, it went up on streaming, and I was like, "Dude, I got to listen to this." I had to get up early to travel to school the next day, but I just went through it, and dude, as it was going, I was like, I think this is somehow better than Good Kid, Mad City, which I never thought I'd say. Really had that instant classic quality to it, and that's just held throughout the years, man. It's such a dense album. It's kind of tough to describe and review in a short amount of time, but the production on this is unbelievable. You know, Kendrick incorporates a lot of different styles on here, from jazz, funk, soul, hip hop, of course. Lyrically, a lot of political commentary. You got to remember, here in the States at the time, 2015. You know, I think we can now, in hindsight, look at that as really a shift of what was to come, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And, you know, touches a lot on African-American culture, depression, you know, racial inequality, institutional discrimination. The thematic direction was inspired by Kendrick's tour of visit to South Africa, especially Nelson Mandela's jail cell. My favorites here are You, The Black and the Berry, Hood Politics, All Right, and then the closer, Mortal Man, where he ends up having a conversation with Tupac, which is just really awesome. Yeah, one of the greatest albums of all time, in my opinion, and the easy number 1 for me.
Well, I would add how much a dollar cost that your mom and
I, of course, yeah,
reacted to, but fantastic album. And I think the thing with Kendrick is, if you never listen to him and you're watching these and you respect our opinion, I'm going to go listen to this. Look, it's going to be work, right? It's going to be work because it's written at a higher level. You got to read the lyrics and you got to listen to it more than once. It definitely is work, but it's work that is well rewarded. But it's not going to be just, I'm going to throw this on and see if there's some catchy tunes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And
I mean, this man won a Pulitzer, not for this album, but
yeah, you know, like
exactly. You've got to really dive. It's intricate, man. It's so good.
It reminds me of Bob Dylan's 60 work in a lot of ways.
I think that's exactly right.
You know, like Blonde on Blonde, you know, another dense record that's over an hour long that rewards repeated listens, going back to it. You know, I think that Dylan and Kendrick actually have a lot of similarities kind of in their career arc, but I guess that'll be another video for another day. But what did you got at your pick? I thought this record was unbelievable as well.
This record's really good. I knew a couple songs of it. I know I'm going to at least get 1 vote for winning from our patron Osmond, because he brings me a lot of Sufjan Stevens. Sufjan Stevens, Carrie and Lowell, 7th studio album. Unlike Sufjan's previous album, The Age of Odds, in 2010, which is more electronica, which is, as you know, Trey, not totally my thing. This features sparse instrumentation. It explores the fallout from the death of his mom in 2012, his mom's Carrie, and the relationship between Sufjan and her second husband, Lowell Burns, who actually helped him found the record label. He's got his own record label, Asthmatic Kitty. It's a 90 on Metacritic. Whole album is great. I don't really have any standouts. It's a painful vibe to the album, right? He's mourning the loss of his mother, and Sufjan had a complicated childhood. I've got some top 10s up of him that are really, really good by year segments there that you really need to go back and listen to if you like him or want to explore more about him. But yeah, it's tough to beat this one.
Oh yeah, man, this would have been my second pick in this loaded year as well. I mean, No Shade in the Shadow of the Cross, 4th of July, should have known better. Just some of his best songs all on this record. And, you know, it's a pretty tight project as well. I think around 40-something minutes.
For him, it's very tight. Yeah.
And, you know, just, some wonderful melodies, very emotional record.
And he always writes personal stuff, but this is like the ultimate personal level.
Next level,
this kind of pain. All right, next up. This guy took #1 with his previous album, and I was shocked at how good this album was. It might actually, it's not better, but man, it's right there.
Okay.
Jason Isbell, Something More Than Free, 5th studio album, produced by Dave Cobb, who also did Southeastern. And also, he's going to produce another one of my albums. I don't think I've ever had a producer too. This won Grammy for Best Americana Album, 87 on Metacritic. Rolling Stone #1 country album of the year. But here's the thing with Jason, right? I hear people say he's country. But no one really knows what to do with him because it debuted on the Billboard 200 at #6, debuted #1 on Billboard's rock, folk, and the country charts, like I said. Top songs, If It Takes a Lifetime, 24 Frames, Children of Children, The Life You Chose, and the title track. I'll tell you, if you got Spotify, he did a Spotify live sessions with 4 of those 5 favorites of mine that is even better that you'll find on Spotify. But Jason is tremendous.
Yeah, coming off of Southeastern, which is just such a high bar.
I know you were gonna rate that high. Did you listen to this album?
I didn't. I need to though.
I was just curious
because I do love Southeastern. So
your next 2 albums, I don't know if they would have made my top 5. The next one would have, but the other one might have been honorable mention. So we're definitely on the same page.
Yeah, man. My #2, another, we're getting to the year now. I was freshman in college. I remember spending this a lot too. Julian Baker, singer-songwriter right here with her debut, Sprained Ankle. Phoebe Bridgers, really, famous today in the music scene. Julian and her have collaborated with Boy Genius, and Julian actually predates Phoebe. So very like folk indie type record, touches on themes of depression, a lot of faith kind of intermixed within here in Julian's walk with Christianity, and yet still dealing with a lot of these, heavy type of themes, and, just persevering through it all. Written mostly at her time in Middle Tennessee State University, and recorded in a 1 mic, 1 take, a lot of these songs. So it's a very intimate, lo-fi production type of record too. You really feel like you're just sitting here in the coffee shop or in the studio listening to her. So the title track, Everybody Does, and then the really touching Go Home are my favorites on this one.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Yeah. You've seen her in concert.
I've seen her. Yeah, I've seen her. I think 2, and one of those happened the day after the election in 2016. So that was a really unique type of show.
I bet that was. Yeah. I thought it was great.
And then switching gears, I'm going Jeff Rosenstock's We Cool. His debut as well. Of course, he had a lot of other work, in the earlier 2000s, but as just himself, this is his debut, a pop punk album that's easy to digest, and yet it digs deeper in subject matter and maybe lyrical content than a lot of what you'd expect in the genre. So if maybe that normally turns you off, maybe give this a spin. Lots of talk around alcohol and just the bittersweet nature of life. You in Weird Cities is energy personified, one of his best tracks, while Get Old Forever, the opener, is really strong as well.
This would have either been at 5 or right at the top of my honorable mentions. Very easily digestible, quick album. The next album for me is not a quick album, but we got Tame Impala, Currents, 3rd studio album. Marks a shift to more dance-oriented music, which for me, when I'd read everything about it, I thought, I might not like this that much, but I thought it still worked, with more emphasis placed on, of course, synths than guitars because it's dance. He was inspired to do The Change, Kevin Parker, in the sound because he wanted to hear his music played in dance clubs in a more communal setting. He wanted people to gather around and enjoy his music. Thematically, it's about the process of personal transformation, which many critics interpreted to be the result of a romantic breakup. But from what I found, he never said what it was. Sold over 1 million copies in North America, which at this point, when it was released in 2015, that's a big deal. Huge critical success. Rolling Stone 382 on the 500 greatest albums of all time. Not where K-Dot is at 19, but What It Happens, my fave, probably a lot of people's fave. But, It's a good album.
Oh, for sure, man. The less I know, the better. Probably.
Yeah.
One of his, I think, most famous, over 1 billion streams, I think, on Spotify. Just a lot of. And I mentioned this last time. Tame Impala was on one of our lists, but an artist that I think really is accessible to a lot of different types of tastes, and I think this record's no different. So.
Yeah, all 3 of his albums have actually made my list. Next up, Chris Stapleton, Traveler. His debut, produced by, Dave Cobb, the guy that did Isbell.
Oh, nice.
Received a Grammy nom for Album of the Year and a win for Best Country Album. #1 in the U.S. Sold nearly 3 million copies in the U.S., which I thought was insane.
Wow, yeah, I would not have expected that many. Triple platinum. There you go, Chris.
It was eventually ranked by Billboard as the best-selling country album of the 2010s. 85 on Metacritic. Favorites are Traveler, Fire Away. If you've never seen the video to Fire Away, go watch that video. One of the most powerful videos I have ever seen in my entire life. Tennessee Whiskey, a little RTTC trivia note.
Right.
The first song reaction we ever did in February of maybe 2020. Fantastic. Wasn't actually released as a single, but went to #1 because him and Justin Timberlake performed it at a Country Music Awards in 2015, and it catapulted. Parachute is also awesome when the stars come out. Trey, this was in the running for me. Mm-hmm. To push for the #1 spot.
Ooh, okay.
But it's 14 songs, it's 64 minutes, and it's just a little bit too much there. That's the only knock on it. If you would have went 10 and about 48, it might have hit #1.
Dude, no, I think that's a great pick right there, Dad. And again, just kind of shows the diversity of sound of greatness that we have on this list. And we're going to keep that up as I'm going now to the last release record, at least at the time of this recording, from Joanna Newsom. We have Divers right here. Joanna's incredible songwriting is on display here yet again. And just to quote her, she said that she spent a year or 2 on the instrumental arrangements and overdubs. So just think of that, people. It's a very, and I mean, that's reflected really in this music as well. Even if, she has almost at times like a childlike, she has an interesting vocal delivery that's not for everybody.
I'll address that. Go ahead.
But I think if you just focus in on the music and the melodies, it has a very enchanting type quality. And I think that is reflected in that. She also noted, I wanted the character and colors of the instrumentation to shift definitively from song to song, which entailed a wide pool of collaborators and lengthy collaborative processes with each person. She said that it was probably the most fun she's had making a record. My favorites are Time is a Symptom, Antidotes, and the title track right here. Not my favorite from Joanna, but that's a pretty high bar. And hey, this was still enough to make the list for me.
Well, like almost all of her albums, she's all over top 10 critic lists with this album. So she's not on Spotify. So I went ahead, I spun over to YouTube, First World Problems. Trey, I'm not a vocal, I'm not a voice snob. Some of my favorite artists of all time. I mean, Nick Cave, Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen. I mean, they're not songbirds, but I listen to 3 songs. I just can't. I mean, and bless you and everyone else that loves this stuff, because I get it. I'm sure it's at a high level. Hey, I just couldn't do it.
No,
I tried.
Well, it's not, like I said, and not everyone's going to be for everybody, right?
No, of course. And I'm just honest about it. It's not a
you gave it a shot at least. And then really switching gears is my final pick. We're going with another debut record, this time from Travis Scott. Went to 3 on the charts, production by him, Metro Boomin, Mike Dean, some of the biggest hip-hop producers of the last decade. So that is really a highlight on this record right here. It's a pretty seminal project as well, bringing some of that trap-based sound to the mainstream. Of course, Future as well, predated Travis Scott, but I feel those 2 guys really helped bring that to the mainstream, kind of what we have even to this day in 2022. Antidote, 3500 and 90210 are my favorites right on this album.
Now, I didn't listen to that. I just got to I'll let you handle all that stuff. My last pick, Lana Del Rey, Honeymoon, 4th studio album. Definitely a different album than the guitar-driven instrumentation of the previous album, Ultra Violence, which made my honorable mentions. Return to the Baroque pop of Born to Die in Paradise, although it's even more dialed back than that for me. Lyrically touches on themes of tortured romance, resentment, lust, escapism, and violence. Critics liked it but didn't love it, but you're going to find that in almost all Lana stuff. Stand-ups from your Honeymoon and High by the Beach, but a very consistent album. Now we're going to get to our honorable mentions. It's weird when you put your honorable mentions on this list because we share this doc. It's a Google Doc. like 4 of yours would have been on mine. So
yeah, I mean, and I think this again highlights how strong the year was, because a lot you could have made another 10 out of these honorable mentions. We have Beach House, one of the great bands I think of the
I agree,
of the
really
century,
good album.
with Depression Cherry. One of my favorite rappers, Earl Sweatshirt. I don't like shit. I don't go outside. Father John Misty. I Love You, Honey Bear. One of his strongest efforts.
Agree.
As I mentioned, Future, his seminal project, DS2. Turnover, Peripheral Vision. The late great Sophie on Product, and then one of my favorite Weekend records, just Not Enough Room Here, Beauty Behind the Madness. And Courtney Barnett, Sometimes I Sit and Think, is another one that is worth checking out. And I still have more.
You got 2 more.
Carly Rae Jepsen, Emotion. Yeah, man.
I had that on my list too.
Jamie XX with the very danceable In Color. And then now we're to yours.
We're to mine.
I stole them all.
Well, usually I do mine first. I know I steal all yours, but Florence and the Machine, How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful. Very, very talented. It's really one person. She's very, very talented. The Deer Hunter, Act 4, Rebirth and Reprise. It's a complicated album because it's the 4th, and you need to kind of listen to them all in order, but it's very, very worth your time. Churches, group I really like, Every Open Eye, and Foles, What Went Down. A little bit of a challenging listen, but still going to make the list. So that's it for this year.
Dude, that covers it, man. Let us know below which stack of records you'd be taking. What are your favorites from 2015? And of course, be sure to hit that sub button if you haven't already, because we'll be back next week with 2016. We're chugging along, and man, we're almost to the present day.
We are, man. I'm excited about it. And 2016 is going to be loaded.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to that. So until next time, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Happy listening, and we will see you.